Are active preamps necessary? This question comes from Bart in Brisbane, Australia. And he says, my question is regarding the necessity of the amplification of active preamps. These days, most source equipment, like CD players, have a level of 2 volts, and many amps have an input sensitivity less than 2 volts. Some 1 volt, some 1.45 volts. In this case, since a preamp needs only to attenuate the signal, let's just leave the function of buffering aside for the time being, the amplification of an active preamp will be of no use, correct? Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you're basically right. When we first started PS Audio back in 1974, I think, we didn't have no preamp. We just had a pot. I mean, that's what our little phono preamplifier put out a couple of volts, and as he brings up, most power amplifiers will clip if you put 2 volts into them. They'll hit their maximum output at 1.45, 1.7 volts input. So and in most cases today, if you take a CD player and you plug the output directly into a power amplifier, you'll clip it. You'll have way more gain than you want. So you should just be able to attenuate it down, and that's what a preamp does. So like I say, when we first started, Stan and I had a pot. We basically just had a potentiometer straight out of our phono preamplifier, straight into the power amplifier. And when we first made our LCC, or our linear control center, which was a passive preamplifier, we debated big time on whether or not to put an active gain stage in it, to the point, I mean, these were big heady arguments, to the point that what we wound up doing is giving people a switch. We compromised. And the reason we did that, here's the switch was, put the switch up, you had just the pot. We called it straight wire. And if you click it down, oh no, actually the very first one was -20, 0 dB. 0 dB was a 20 dB gain stage, and then -20 was just the straight pot, and that goes to these standards. And later on we called it straight wire and gain. And we did that for years because our belief at the time was that just a pot, a high quality pot, sounded better than going through a gain stage. And even to this day, I would still argue that unless you have a gain stage the way that we do it, because we don't even use pots anymore. We use variable gain amplifiers where this pot is really just a control for the gain of the amplifier. So we've gone beyond pots, but that's a whole nother story. So yeah, in general, you don't need a preamp, and you certainly don't need an active one. But then there is the issue of buffering, and active preamps do sound better if they're done right and all that stuff. So I hope that answers your question. I wanted to show you something. I'm just poking around back here in our section. I don't know how many of you have ever seen a bar of solder. Now normally solder comes, in a roll, right? When we solder something, we use, a piece of solder. But we also many times use what's called a solder pot. So here's a solder pot, and because we need to dip things in it, and this pot, it's a cooking pot, right? But check this out. This you don't get to see this every day. Look at this. That's a solid bar of, ouch, damn it. Sharp too. It says Kuping Golden Solder. I'm guessing that's from China. But 60-40, that's the blend of, this is real, this is not lead free. This sucker has, what is it, 60% tin and 40% lead, I think? Or maybe the other way around. I think it's that's the way. But anyway, that is a bar of solder. You don't get to see that every day, right? That's why you're here on Ask Paul, because you get to see things you don't normally get to see. Okay, thanks for the question. I'll talk to you later. Bye.